In 1100, Bernard of Clairvaux, he called the lowly and simple, thousands of bakers and millers and stonemasons and farmers and blacksmiths. He called them to the Crusades, and he did not call them to the high and lofty visions of military victory. Rather, he called them to find themselves on the long and lonely road. Hey, it's Lucas Grobot, and you're listening to Weaver and Loom. Welcome back to Weaver and Loom, episode 304, and I have been disturbed, thinking, meditating on this story. The story comes from the Gospel of Luke, Luke chapter 14. And now you can imagine it's a beautiful Saturday afternoon in Jerusalem, maybe somewhere outside on the landscapes, and the most honored lawyer, religious ruler of that town catches Jesus after the service and says, "Hey, come on over to my house. We're going to have a party. We'd love to host you. We'd love to have you over for this party. The mayor's going to be there, all the who's who. It's going to be great. We need you to come over." And Jesus kindly obliges him. He gets there a couple minutes early, and the party is already starting. You got the band in the corner singing songs and people being rowdy over by the wine. You have the politicians gathering in one corner talking about the newest legislation that's coming out, and it's a hustle and it's a bustle. Jesus walks in, he takes his coat off and heads over to the table to greet and say hi to people and sit down, and he notices that all eyes are on him and everyone's kind of watching. What's he going to do? Hears the whispers from the corner, and he looks over and he sees a man with dropsy. Now, dropsy is where your body retains water. And no matter what, your body just wants more and more water, and you just become huge and large, just fat with water. And there's a man with dropsy there. Now, how, pray tell, Jesus thinks, is there a man with dropsy in such a crowd? Was he planted there? Did they bring him there on purpose? Or was he possibly just a rich Pharisee, a rich religious ruler who could afford to have dropsy, as it was a disease of the rich? Nevertheless, there's this man with dropsy there, precariously in the center of the room. And Jesus stands up quite early on and he rings his glass. Ding, 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 ding. Everyone, thank you so much for having me. Now, my question for you today is it lawful or not to heal on the Sabbath? Now, it is as if the Pharisees set him up. They know that Jesus is a mischievous character, and they know that he's been healing on the Sabbath. It's like his bad joke. It's like a teenager who, everywhere he goes, he just likes to do the same prank over and over, and it's illegal to heal on the Sabbath because it's a day of rest, and if you're healing someone, well, then you're working. You can't work on the Sabbath. So Jesus puts them all to the test. Everyone is quite silent. The band stops. The guys laughing over a glass of wine in the corner quickly nudge each other to see what's going on. The host kind of stands frozen awkwardly. Oh no, what's going to happen? Jesus calls the man with dropsy over and he heals him and he sends him away. Like, your job's finished now, you can go. Man with dropsy hurries off quickly. He doesn't want to get caught in the fray of the family drama that's about to unfold. You can feel the tension in the room. What's going to happen next? People are shuffling their feet quietly, whispering hushedly in the corners. And Jesus says, "Which of you, having a son or an ox that's fallen into a well, would not instantly pull him out on the Sabbath day?" No one said anything. Well, the master of the house quickly to divert attention, said, "Oh, everyone's here. Let's sit down and eat. Let's get this party started." The mayor is rushing over to grab the seat right next to the host of the house and across from Jesus, and all the other religious leaders and lawyers and businessmen and entrepreneurs and architects. They all are crowding over to the table, making sure they all get the best seat, that they get the seat next to their friend and the clique that they like. And as Jesus sees their lust for the praise of man, their lust for the approval of those around him, he pipes up again with a little toast. Says, "Everyone, I'm just so glad that you invited me here today, especially you, the host of the party. So grateful. I just want to say, remember, when you are invited to a wedding, don't take the best seat in the house. Take the worst seat in the house. Because if you take the best seat, someone else who is better than you will come along and the host will say to you, go sit there, down at the end of the table. Rather, sit at the end of the table, the lowest seat. And that way, you will be brought up. For anyone who exalts himself like y'all in this world will be humbled in the next, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted." Now, there's indignant scoffs around the table. Just imagine at the last family gathering that you had with that uncle who just comes in and says the most provocative things about everyone else's marriage and hidden secrets and gossip behind doors. It's the provocative brother who comes in and just stirs the pot just to get a rise out of mom and dad and all the aunts and uncles and grandma. Well, there's Jesus getting his rise. Everyone shifts in their chairs uncomfortably. Someone's about to stand up and give Jesus what's coming to him, but they don't have a chance before he then looks at the host, who at this point is feeling quite uncomfortable because, the mayor is sitting right next to him, and his honored guest, Jesus, is just making a show out of his house, feeling very insulted already. Jesus turns to the host and says, "And when you give a dinner party, don't invite your friends or your brothers or your relatives or your rich neighbors like you have. Because if you do, you are doing so just so that they can repay you. Instead, when you give a feast, invite the blind, the poor, the cripple, and the lame, and you'll be blessed in eternity and repaid at the resurrection of the just." Now, after such a rebuke, you can imagine that the host does not know what to say. He stammers a little bit, and he's trying to find something to diffuse the situation and diffuse the tension that has now built up in the room. Well, the best friend of the host, who's quite an amiable person, really hates conflict, probably Enneagram 9, he chimes in and says, "Well, blessed is everyone who eats the bread in the kingdom of God." Jesus snaps, and he turns to him. He says, "Let me tell you a story. There once was a man, a king, who gave a great banquet, and he invited all of his friends, the best of the best in the city, to come to fill his house for the wedding. And when the time of the wedding has come, he sent his servant out and said, tell everyone the wedding is Friday night. Be there or be square. You don't want to miss it. We're going to have the best food. We're going to have the best bands. We're going to have the best wine. It's going to be incredible. This is a party of the ages. You don't want to miss this party." Well, the servant went to the first, and he said, "I have bought a field. I just bought a field. I have to go see it. I just bought 50 acres of land. We're going to turn it into this amazing development. It's going to be the best thing ever. I mean, just wait. Just tell the king, just wait till he sees this development. It's going to be so great. It's going to really help his business in the city. I really have these plans. got to get drawn up. The city's coming, municipality's coming. Can't make it to the wedding on Friday night. Super busy, but man, just send my regards. I hope he has a great time. The servant goes on to the next, and this man says, "Oh, please excuse me. I just bought 5 oxen. I have to go and make sure my 5 oxen are taken care of. I just bought 5 new businesses. You see, I'm a VC. Just bought these 5 new businesses. I got to strip them down. I got to build them up. These businesses are going to be life-changing. I mean, talk about generational blessing and wealth. It is going to bless the city more than you know. So just tell the king, so sorry I can't make it. Got to attend to these businesses. It's just a real urgent matter." The servant goes down the road, shaking his head. Man, maybe I need to pitch the music a little better. Maybe should have brought a flyer with what food they're going to be serving. I don't know why these people don't want to come. It's the best wedding. And you only get married once. The king only gets married once. Finally, he gets to the 3rd house. Knocks on the door. "Yes. Finally, everything's ready," he says to the gentleman. "The party is ready. It's going to be this Friday, 7 p.m. till probably 4 a.m. in the morning. You don't want to miss this party. It's going to be great. The band, all the best bands are going to be there. All the who's going to be there. You want to make this party." Well, the man looks back over his shoulder at his newly married wife. And he says, "Oh, I really wish I could make it, but I just got married. And we really need some time to ourselves. We have a little date night planned for Friday. And don't want to spoil that date night. So I just tell the master of the house, here's a little card for him. Send him my best condolences or blessings on his cordial marriage. And I can't make it." Well, the servant turns, heads back to the palace, quite confused and a little bit afraid because he knows the temperament of the master. He knows that when the master gets in a mood, he gets in a mood. So he comes and he gives the report. He says, "They're all busy. They're busy with other things." I can see the servant trying to ease the blow. Jesus, you did invite, or master, king of the house, you did invite all the best and the brightest. They have busy schedules, and we probably should have booked them out 3 years ahead of time because they're important people with things to do and places to go. Well, the master of the house is furious. He goes into a fit of rage and he begins to see red. He says, "That's it. These men shall never come into my house again. Never again. Instead," he says, Go out to the streets and find the lame and the cripple and the poor and the blind." So the servants all gathered and they went out and they found the poor. They found the cripple. They found the blind, and they brought them to the party and said, Master, we took all the poor and the blind and the lowest of the low that we could find. Found them all, brought them in. But I hate to break it to you, Master, that the room's only about half full. Who wants to have a party where half the tables are empty? It's like, man, you don't want a party that no one wants to come to. Angry again, he says, "Go out to the highways and the hedges and compel people to come that my house might be full." And so they did. They went out, the servants went out, and they went and they found those who were far away, merchants, people traveling along roadsides and crossroads, and they compelled them all, they forced them all to come into this party. And then Jesus ends his story looking at this man who said, "Blessed are all those who eat the bread of the kingdom of God." He looks at him square in the eyes and he says, "For I tell you, none of those men who were invited and declined because they were busy, none of them shall taste my banquet. You can feel the insult taken here. This poor soul is just trying to diffuse the situation a little bit, trying to soften it. Yes, blessed is everyone who eats the bread of the kingdom of God. And Jesus turns to him and, let me tell you who I invite to my party. Let me tell you who I am going to invite to my party. You know, Bernard of Clairvaux, when he calls people to the Crusades in the 1100s. And I am been gripped by how he did not call the best and the brightest, but he called tens of thousands of masons and millers and beggars and wandering scholars and minstrels and seamstresses, blacksmiths. And he didn't call them to high and lofty things. Instead, he called them to find themselves in the loneliness of the long road. He called them to leave the land where they are known, where they have identity, where they have purpose, where they have a community around them who have called them names, who have identified them and named them, saying, you are the blacksmith. What a place of honor you have in our town. You are treated this way as a lawyer. Instead, he says, leave that all behind. Come to the highways and the byways. Come and discover yourself in the loneliness of the long road. And in every initiatory journey, you see a hero in his safe home, surrounded by a community who has defined him or her for the best, for the good. They see the good in that person and the purpose in that person. There's a future, there's plans for that hero. But then at some point, there's the initiatory call to leave all of that behind. And when you find yourself on the loneliness of the long road, what you find is that you're not who you think you were. So where do you find yourself in the story? When I reflect on this story, the story of the banquet and the series that leads up to Jesus telling the story, I find myself disappointed. I find myself wishing and wanting to be the best and the brightest. In my own long road, I have found that I thought that I was the best and the brightest, that here I am, a brilliant communicator or a hardworking person. And instead, on the journey of my long road, I have found, fortunately and unfortunately, that if I want to enter in to the bridal party, if I want to enter in and taste of the bread of the kingdom of God, I actually have to become a blind, poor beggar. There are many places where I can see myself in this story. I can see myself as the man with dropsy, where my flesh is desiring the empty, futile praise of man. I see myself there. I see myself wanting to sit at the most honored places on the table. I see myself as the man trying to diffuse and soften the call that is placed on every one of our lives, in my life as well. I see myself as the person who invites my best friends to the dinner party, those who sit in high places of honor, in hopes that I'll be repaid. But recently I've been hoping to understand how to live blind, to how to live as a beggar, to how to live as a cripple. And I've been looking rather to my strengths and my accomplishments, I've begun to look at my lack and my weakness. So I hope that story sits with you today. Ask yourself, where do you see yourself in the story? And I hope you also ask yourself, how do you find in yourself the courage to leave the known world, to go onto that lonely road of self-discovery, that lonely road of loneliness, where we discover that in truth, yeah, we are that man with dropsy, longing for the empty praise of man and the honor of man and the glory that comes from man. And as we discover that, we can be transformed and healed, and we can find that we were the cripple and the sick one all along, that we might share in the bread of the kingdom of God. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this story. I hope you bear with me as I trudge along on this new format where I definitely feel a little crippled and blind and lame. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time right here on Weaver and Loom.